Hello, welcome to this week's Wednesday Dental XP webinar. My name is Dr. John Heimke, and I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. We're going to talk about the exciting concept of digital smile design and how we're incorporating it into the modern dental practice and everything that goes with it. I'd like to thank Dental XP, Eddie, Maurice, and Tyler, and also a special thanks to Dr. Christian Coachman and the DSD team. Well, we're not going to talk about dentistry for the first few minutes of this lecture. What we're going to talk about is blue ocean business strategy. And I'll tell you why we have to talk about that first. Because blue ocean strategy will help us get our office DSD ready. It puts you into a mindset of digital dentistry, which DSD is your portal to the world of digital dentistry. To get your office ready for DSD, you have to understand the blue ocean strategy. Blue Ocean Strategy is about a 396-page book written by Chan Kim and Renee Mulburn. And if you'd like to read it, boy, that's a really great thing, and I highly suggest it. But if you'd like a 12-page synopsis, I can get it to you. It's from the Harvard Business Review, and it'll give you an excellent background on what it's all about. And I'll try to highlight it here. Basically, in the world of business, there are red oceans and blue oceans. In a red ocean, we have a known market, many competitors, and we fight for market share. And it's really cutthroat. Look at right now, big box department stores, Sears, Kmart, Walmart, they're all fighting for market share. And all they can do is cut prices, and they're not modernizing. In blue oceans, companies such as Cirque du Soleil, they found a niche and were able to develop an area that nobody went into. And what happened to them? They're surviving, and other circuses, such as Ringling Brothers, which has been around for over 100 years, is dying. So, as dentists, we have to do a similar thing. And digital dentistry will allow you to develop your own blue ocean. Think of it like this. If we look at coffee, there's a lot of companies that sell coffee. And they're really cutthroat with each other. And really all they can do is cut the price. And a lot of times that happens in dentistry also. So, dentists, as you can see as an analogy, will go with whitening specials, or they'll give away free cleanings, or free this or free that. And that's really not going to help you provide the quality of care that you'd like to do. So let's become a Starbucks kind of company. Starbucks, they sell coffee at 5 times the rate of you going to Dunkin' Donuts or one of these gas stations. And they get customers all the time. Well, think of it as patients. Works the same way. What we need to do is by utilizing DSD, we create a DSD-ready system, and we build our office to accommodate the DSD, which is basically going to allow us to go into a digital workflow. And I've been able to do that in my office. Let me give you a little example.
Welcome. We're glad you're here. We've created this office specifically for you. We have hardwood floors throughout, lots of natural lighting, soft warm colors, spacious treatment rooms where you can sit back, relax, and enjoy your favorite movie, or surf the internet on our flat screen TVs. We also have several amenities similar to that of a 5-star hotel. We hope you've enjoyed your tour of our facilities, and we look forward to designing your beautiful, natural smile of your dreams.
So that's a blue ocean strategy. So think of 21st century, digital technology, internet, computers, now translated to dentistry. And we have digital smile design. Digital smile design is taking dental treatment concepts, philosophies, and it's basically putting it into a package that works for the 21st century. And who do we have to thank for that? Dr. Christian Coachman. He saw the vision and he developed it into this concept. And now it is truly an interdisciplinary concept where we have integration between the practitioner, the laboratory, the specialist, and back to the original practitioner again. It's a great, great concept that is improving dentistry tremendously. It's improved it in my practice and has proved it in hundreds of practices in the world and now going to thousands. Christian's a great friend. He's a great teacher. He's a dental XP expert. He's a fantastic resource. And I highly recommend that when he does one of his residencies, that you take that residency. So digital dentistry, what does it encompass? It encompasses going from the analog world to the digital world. And the digital world is improving our practices in such a way because we're able to remove a lot of human error and we're able to get much more accuracy than we could in a human analog environment. How do we get information? We capture it with cameras, scanners, and CBCTs. We use design softwares. And then we manufacture the end product with milling, printing, and sintering. What are some of the tools that we use? We use smartphones, mini computers that are handheld. We use our own computer systems. And also we're using new technologies such as scanners, which are replacing things such as analog impression systems. And also the softwares, we're able to basically do what we would do on the desktop of the laboratory or the office. We're able to do it on the computer. We're able to test things out. We're able to calibrate situations. And we're able to look at the situation of the case on the model in a before and after view before we even put it on the patient. And we're utilizing photographs and to a large extent these days, actually full motion video, which is very, very interesting. Philosophy of digital smile design is that of a facially driven treatment plan. So if we start from the face and we work in, you're going to have a much better treatment outcome because we're focusing on the person. We're using their emotions, we're using their psyche, their mental output, how they present to us, and then we're incorporating all those features into the teeth and how the smile is formed. We want to study the face. We want to look at the face in different areas. We want to grid it off. We want to look for anomalies because our goal is to create symmetry and balance. And when we do that, that is pleasing to the eye, and when it gets pleasing to the eye, it produces a positive effect into the brain. Basically, with digital smile design, is based off a 2D DSD project, and it's called the Smile Frame. And that frame has a few components. It has a cervical curve, it's composed of a tooth proportion, width to height, a papilla curve, the natural shapes of the teeth that we determine from various characteristics, and then a smile curve. And from that, we're able to plug in the teeth and develop it for that person. It's also calibrated through a digital ruler so that we can have very accurate measurements so that when we design it, it'll turn out the way that we would like. Integration of the dynamics of motion with facial aesthetics and function is key. And that's where the use of video comes in. Video has not been used enough in dentistry. When we use our smartphones, which is a very, very easy technique to do, we're able to get very accurate video and very good quality video, believe it or not, on how to do that. And these are some of the components that we look at in smile design, digital smile design. Aesthetic visualization, facial analysis, lip dynamics, lip support, morphophysiology, proportion, perspective, optical illusion, arrangement, composition, and shapes. This is a tremendous amount of information that we're able to gather and we're able to transmit to our teams. And team is a very big thing. It's that interdisciplinary approach. A lot of times we talk about team, but digital smile design, digital workflows, they're really permitting us to have true team synergy. And that team synergy is amazing in how we have treatment outcomes. It works in medicine, and now it's going to work very efficiently in dentistry. As we discussed before, the Smile Design project is worked on first before treatment planning of the biology, the function, and the structure of a smile. It's kind of a new concept, but I can tell you when you do this, this really leads to fantastic results. And this is also quite unique to the digital smile design concept. Now, I'd like to describe how the interdisciplinary phases work in DSD. Think of it like this, and then we're going to use a form of analogy so that you'll really kind of grasp this very, very easily. The first part of digital smile design is the actual design. And think of that where the doctor acts as the architect of the smile. We're drawing the blueprint. The next segment is the treatment plan, putting everything together. And that's the engineering of the smile. Then we're taking the emotion of the smile, the patient's psyche, to develop how we're going to get case acceptance. Case acceptance can be translated to the word sell, but basically it's creating the emotion so that that person says, that's what I want to do, you're the practitioner that I want to do it, and the way you've presented is the way I want to do it. And finally, we have the builder of the smile, and that's the treatment. So if we follow this path, it becomes very, very easy, or much easier at least, to get to the end point and have a consistent beginning and a consistent ending without a lot of starts and stops. So what is digital dentistry? It is the link of the person's face to the lab design. And we have workflows. Workflows are digital. Again, we'll go back to our concepts. We have the designing. So we're able to use scans, or we're able to scan the models, and then we incorporate it into the patient's face. We have our interdisciplinary strategy. We're able to work with specialists and coordinate the case and the laboratory. We're able to motivate the patient to improve case acceptance. So with all this great stuff that we're doing, we're able to get them to say, yeah, I want to move forward. Because getting them to move forward in high percentages will lead to success. Because obviously we want to do the work for them. And then we have efficiency in the devices that we use. We use milling technology and we use printing technology to a large degree. And then also the last thing is probably one of the most important is this quality control. Because we're able to create a smile frame that's calibrated, we're able to dial in the quality control down to the 1/10 of a millimeter, which is, I think, truly amazing. So here's a typical workflow. We're going to do our consultations with the patient. We're going to stimulate the right brain. That's our artistic side. That's not our analytic side. And we're able to go from there. We're able to collect data. We're able then to create our plan, go onto the computer, plan that, and then ultimately translate all that pre-planning into the actual treatment. And again, it's a very logical, systematic workflow that is consistent. It's repeatable. What I find about the digital workflows is it disciplines you as a practitioner. It guides you each time. If you follow the steps, it's going to be very hard to make a mistake. It's kind of like a checklist when a pilot is flying an airplane. The pilot always uses a checklist no matter what. When they do that, they have consistent results. They get from point A to point B, and the plane doesn't crash. And if there is a problem, then they're able to deal with it. So think of it like that. It's a very disciplined approach. And that's one of the reasons why I've really grasped onto this in my practice in the last few years since I've been trained with the digital smile design concept. And obviously it permits us to get into digital dentistry very, very easily. You need a doorway, a way to get in, because most of us, this is very foreign to us. And you don't have to be a computer expert to do this. And also, as the younger generation comes in, they're probably a little bit more adapt to this than we are. But it's not a difficult thing. It takes some learning, but it actually is invigorating to get that learning, especially when you're a midlife practitioner. And again, we have these digital scanners that are now very, very accurate. They're easy to use, and they actually eliminate a lot of potential errors. Look at the analog workflow. Impressions techniques with impression materials such as PVS, polyether, etc. We have all these issues that we have to work with and that are potential error causing. That's largely eliminated through the use of digital scanners or bench scanners. We also have softwares that help us. So they permit us to visualize things before we do them in the mouth. How nice is that? We're able to anticipate problems, we're able to correct them, and then when we go to actually doing the treatment, it's going to be much more predictable. And actually there's going to be a tremendous amount of clinical satisfaction on the practitioner's part as well as the patient's. So when we print, we're adding, and then when we mill, we're doing a subtractive effect. And each of these systems does a different thing. For milling, we can mill models, we can mill abutments, we can mill crowns, just as it says here. On printing, which is becoming extremely popular to such an extent we're probably going to be having printers in our own offices in the next few years, as an everyday occurrence. We're able to do guides, we're able to do mock-ups. Actually, what's going to probably happen is we'll be doing a lot of the workflow with our laboratories via a virtual iCloud kind of system. And then instead of the laboratory delivering something to you, they're going to deliver something to your computer, which will then go to your printer, and it will print up right in your office in real time. How amazing is that? That's true digital integration. DSD Photo Video Workshop. I'm adding this into the lecture for a primary reason of basically to do a DSD project. Once you've learned to do it, you can either do it through a software program or you can do it through the templates that DSD training provides and do it on your own, or you're going to get just basically the basic photos and videos to get the data to create the DSD. So let's go over that information. There's basically 8 poses that need to be done. The frontal pose, where we have a frontal smile. The object of this is that you want the smile with the teeth slightly separated. A good idea is to put a glove box behind the patient's head and have them sit straight back and have them smile. And then you do the same thing with a set of retractors so you can get a very similar pose. And you can do this either with a 35mm camera or preferably all with a smartphone. And by doing that, you can generate still photographs and video. Then the next photo is a profile shot with the patient in relaxed form and then in smile form. When you do this in the video, you can actually pull screenshots out of the desired pose, because in every second of video there are 24 frames. So that means there's 24 photos in every second of film. How lovely is that? And you can pick up little nuances that you could never pick up from a posed picture. Then we want to have the patient lean back, and we want to take an occlusal video or photo. And classic to DSD is the 12 o'clock photo. As you can see in this photo, we're able to get basically a view that is similar to a wax rim when we would do removable dentures. And we're able then to measure with the calibrated ruler how much wax we'd have to add or subtract into the new smile that we're designing. The next one is the casual interview, and basically, and this is a video where we're going to talk to the patient about their desires, their wants, what they don't like about the smile, what they like about their smile, and we're trying to see what their personality is like. Plus, we're able to then take screenshots as we like of different poses, because as they speak in a normal fashion, then we're able to actually get views that we'd never be able to get from a pose shot. We want to get a close-up shot of phonetics, so have them read a poem, have them count from 50 to 49 to 48 to 47 to 46. Just have them count in that fashion very gently. And then we want to do an intraoral function photograph with retractors and have them do their border movements, have them chew, things like that. And then finally we want to do an intraoral shot similar to the occlusal of what the intraoral environment looks like. So our tools for doing this are a smartphone and a computer. You can also use a 35mm camera. And then the question often comes, how can we get these beautiful photographs or these videos? And we can do that by having the proper lighting. In this day and age, LED lights work very well. You can do a simple setup from Amazon, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And you can order these LED lights. They're not hot. They are capable of 56K light, so we have analogous to natural light, and you're going to get videos that rival 35mm cameras. So I created a short video to show you the studio that I have in my office. I did it for approximately $600, and you can buy these components on Amazon basically. This is how simple you can set up your own mini AV studio. I have 2 LED lights that are 1 foot square that have over 300 LED lights that get over 56K white light. We have a dental stool, we have a collapsible black backdrop, and then I have a 43-inch flat screen television, I have my computer, and I have an external drive. And then we can go back out of the office. So you can see you can get a very nice studio made very simply. And that leads us to digital integration with DSD. Let's start looking at some cases. One of the biggest factors is to have a patient understand what's going on and to have that emotional connection of what you're going to be doing. They'd like to see what the end product is going to be before you start operating on it. And as Dr. Coachman says, the emotional approach is engaging, motivating, and it increases the perceived value of treatment. We want to increase our value. That's a blue ocean strategy. That's something that will separate us from the pack. Something that people will say, I value what you do. I'm going to give you the fees that are commensurate with it. And what we're not doing is we're not fighting our fellow practitioners to see who can get to the lowest common denominator, which is usually cost, which causes us to cut corners, and then we don't have the results that the patients deserve. So in this case, we have a patient, and this is following a DSD workflow or a DSD template. We call it a DSD project. And one of the things that we do is we use something called visagism. And in this article, written by prominent cosmetic dentists, Dr. Calamita, Dr. Christian Coachman, Galip Gurel, and the others, what they did is they found out that Dr. Carl Jung, a very famous psychiatrist from the 40s to the 60s, and actually late in his life, he was doing some work and he found that there was a correlation between tooth shape, tooth morphology, and a person's emotional state or mental state. And actually, it's a very accurate system, and I've seen it in my practice numerous times. So one of the key factors in doing the DSD project is to pick which emotional or mental characteristic your person or patient is exhibiting. So in this case, this person, we pick a number 1 and number 2 of what we feel. And that correlates to a tooth morphology. And as you can see, we have these 4 basic characteristics. and the different tooth shapes that go along with it. And as I told you, believe it or not, this is very, very consistent and will help you tremendously and will help the laboratory tremendously when they're doing either their analog wax-ups or hopefully their digital workups. Also, we talked about motion.
And just tell me a little bit about what you're
video
looking to
helps
achieve
us.
with your
So you're able
smile.
to see the patient after they leave,
Well, I'm a
and you're
little
able to
tired of
see
all the
them in a
bonding and the
dynamic
chipping
form.
and
We're also able to
the
take screenshots
discoloration and
of
the shape of the teeth. So just
them
like a whole
from the
new
videos that we're able to
makeover.
utilize in our
And the
planning
bottom teeth are
process.
real bad or discolored, and
We're also able to take functional videos. How nice is that?
Okay.
So we
So
can
chew
see their
around like
function.
you'd be chewing a sandwich or a piece of gum. Kind of work it around all over. There you go. Chomp, chomp, chomp.
So in the DSD project, one of the first things we want to do is we want to create a digital face bow. Very analogous to our analog face bow. And then we want to create a smile frame. This is probably one of the primary keys of the digital smile design concept and project. We want to have our cervical curve, we want to have a tooth proportion, our papilla curve, our natural shapes, our smile curve, and our proportion. And from this, we'll fill in the teeth. And as you can see, basically the template is generated onto the calibrated photograph. And then we're able to transmit these different images to our laboratories so that the end result can be fabricated. And then we can mill. Once we're completed milling, then we can fabricate printed wax-ups. This is an example of how a scanned model has a wax-up superimposed on it based from the Digital Smile Design project. And then once we have that completed, the wax-up can be printed and we can fabricate a putty, which will allow us to transfer that to the patient's mouth. Then we can create a motivational smile video for the patient so they can see what their before and what their potential after will be.
That's great.
Yeah.
Had a nice time. Yeah.
So when a patient gets to see what their potential outcome will be, imagine how their acceptance rate of this treatment goes up tremendously. And from there, you can just go into, you can schedule prepping, and then you can make your provisionals, and you've already one step ahead of the game. That's how powerful this is. And, you know, practicing for 27 years, when I saw this information coming out and attended the trainings and the classes, I said, this is where we're going into the 21st century, and I need to be part of it. And it's just like starting over again. It's fantastic. So scanners, softwares, milling machines, these are some of the results. Look at these beautiful restorations from this video. Let's look at this case. In this case, it's a skin concept by Dr. Paulo Cano and Dr. Christian Coachman. And what we're going to do is work through this case with a DSD project and some DSD software known as Nemo. We're creating a smile frame. And from that, We're able to incorporate that into the facial images, and then we have our libraries of tooth shapes. And these tooth shapes come from natural algorithms. So they're not generated by a technician in space or like an artist that you'd say, here, copy this. They're not doing that. These are actual natural tooth shapes of teeth that have been replicated and put into a library form. And now we can use those because they have beautiful convexities and concavities, and they reflect light beautifully, and the shapes are what nature made. And this is how we translate this into final results. So we have these photographs, basically, of these libraries, and we're able to translate that into this patient's smile. SK4 was chosen in this case. It was designed on the virtual model. Then it was translated to the milling machine, and the restorations were fabricated. And this is the end result, which is gorgeous. And in this case, there was no wax up and no layering. 3D printing and more. I can tell you in the labs they have sophisticated 3D printers, but available as of even today, you can get very competent 3D printers for your office. And as I said, this is going to be coming technology that we're all going to have probably in the next 5 to 10 years. So, what we're able to do in 3D design, we have a patient that we've prepared. Laboratories can then design the prosthesis based on the wax-up, and they can evaluate thicknesses of material, how they're going to design the final restorations, and then go to the milling, all via the digital workflow concept. And look at the beautiful printed models that we get. Look at the accuracy that we have here. We don't have to worry about plasters with expansion and contraction and things like that. These are all milled to the 10th of a millimeter. This is amazing. It's very predictable. As far as implant printing is concerned, look at, we're able to print an implant level model that's very accurate. We have our guide, so we know where the implant's going to go, and we have the timing even corresponded to this. The other thing, they're even able to print soft tissue, so they can make a soft tissue model. Look at how this is done. This is soft tissue onto the printed model. To me, this just blows me away. I mean, this is amazing. And again, we go to our final restoration designs. We take our wax up. We then design our final restorations. And from this is transported to the milling or potentially printing machine, and we fabricate our final restorations. And yes, there's a technician that needs to be involved, and that technician can then spend that 10 or 15% of the case to develop the human touch that's needed. So let's look at this case. This is a double full arch implant case. And what we're doing is going totally digital in this case. We get our initial documentation, get our recordings.
Chew around like you're eating a sandwich.
From our initial information, then we develop our DSD project. And this DSD project is then shared with my implant team because I'm the restorative dentist. I have a surgeon that I share this information with, and then to our laboratories, I share the information. So that we're all on the same page when it comes down to planning the case, and then also when we execute the case, so that things should come out pretty much predictably. And I can tell you for the most part, probably within from 95% to 100%, we are accurate, which is amazing compared to what we used to do. So we used, in this case, scan technology to get our initial impressions. We created a trio scan. It was given to the laboratory so they could develop the initial bite and setup. They imported teeth into the project based on our DSD. We then correlated that to the face. Things were approved. We took our CBCT and overlaid that into the plan so we could generate our guides. And we have our guides for bone reduction, osteotomy, and conversion, and ultimately the final milled conversion prosthesis. Printed these up. And then we had our guides. So we have our initial guide, we have our horizontal set pins. Then we go into our bone reduction guides, which in the years past were not as accurate, but now they're extremely accurate. We have our osteotomy guides. And then we have, in this case, this is a carrier for the conversion that is picked up in the mouth so that we can essentially take this out of the mouth if we desire and do a benchtop conversion on this appliance here and then take it to the mouth and then accurately place it in. And it saves a lot of time also on these procedures. And this is the type of milled prosthesis that we end up with. They're gorgeous. And this is a conversion. So the finals will be even better. What a joy is it for the surgeon to, go into this surgery knowing with a high degree of certainty that things are going to be accurate, and also for the restorative dentist. In our case, we all work as a team on the days of these surgeries. So here is the real-time use of the printed guides in the actual surgery. Horizontal set pins are placed.
Now go ahead and put one pin in.
With the initial guide based on the teeth, which provides a very accurate, stable platform. As you can see.
This is the
And from
pin
this
guide that
initial
we're
guide,
putting in.
everything else works off.
So we'll orient the pins and then we can go.
Then we place our bone reduction guide. And as you can see from the upper left photograph, there is about 4 millimeters of bone that is removed. And when we look in the mouth clinically, you see how accurate it is. So we did everything from a trio scan on the computer, fabricated our printed dies from that, and then look at how our guides look. We used a piezoelectric, that's what the surgeon used, to remove the bone in a very efficient fashion. We'll look at it on the video.
Thank you.
And then the end result is in the upper right slide, and look at how it mimics what the anticipated or predicted outcome was going to be from the left-hand side. Truly amazing. And we'll go on to our osteotomy guides. Place that into place. Remember, we're using those 4 horizontal holes with the pins to accurately calibrate the case from the beginning to the end. So remember, digital dentistry is being able to accurately calibrate a case from the beginning to the middle to the end. Where in our analog systems, a lot of times we're reinventing the wheel along the way. And that leads to more treatment time, potentially more complications, and also you're not staying consistent with the original plan many times. So we want to have uniformity. Uniformity leads to predictable results. So let's look at this video a little bit. placing the implants here. Through the guide, we're placing the implants, and then we can take the guide off and we can place our multi-abutments and verify that they're oriented in the correct spatial relationship. And from there, we'll start the conversion process. In the conversion process, we're going to use this unique device called a carrier. And what this carrier does is it's oriented in the mouth via the original set pins, and you can see the multi-abutments have already been placed. We're going to be putting temporary cylinders into place, and then we're going to loop those to the carrier. Now, you can place the conversion bridge onto this carrier and over the temporary cylinders and pick those up, or as we did in this case, we did an alternate technique where we picked up the cylinders and then we went to the bench, the lab bench, and the technician was able to pick up the milled bridge on the lab bench while the patient could be sutured and rest while this period of conversion is being done. It's a very efficient system. It's also very nice not to have to do it directly in the mouth. And it only takes, let's say, about 30 to 45 minutes to do. Okay, this is the transfer carrier, or this is the carrier. Now we're going to put the conversion on, like so, and it's oriented to two little pins in the carrier, and then we will pick it up onto the temporary cylinders from the guided smile. As you can see in this series of photographs, this is what the carrier looks like. Notice that the little plastic projections, the vertical projections in the posterior of the carrier, that is how we orient that to the conversion milled bridge. Because if that wasn't there, you wouldn't have a spatial relationship of it. So again, it's another added feature of the milling technology or of the planning technology to be able to orient that very accurately and have it calibrated. So calibration is a key word that you always want to keep in mind. And then this is our result with our conversion prostheses. A little bit of occlusal adjustment, and then the patient is able to return home. And let's hear his reaction.
Still can't move my lips.
Yeah, you're numb. It'll be a while.
Cool.
There you go. Closing your back teeth. Yeah, smile as much as you can. All right.
You've got a big smile.
So a very adequate result, probably more than adequate result in this case. The patient was very happy, and now we're on to healing, and then in 3 months we can take the original DSD project and use that file to fabricate the prototype and then the final milled zirconia bridge. So let's look at our takeaway keys from this lecture. DSD is an interdisciplinary approach. It has digital workflows, and we go to 3D printing. We want to stimulate the right brain. We want that emotional dentistry to come out. We want to create the wow factor. And how do you get started? So you can create your own blue ocean. What we need to do is to look at the red ocean, which is, I wouldn't say your competitors, but your fellow clinicians, and see what they're doing, and then say, I want to go into a new blue ocean where there's no one there. And what are we going to do? What are we going to offer? What kind of value are we going to create for our patients? And I can tell you, if you use a digital concept, you're going to then successfully be able to do this and move into the 21st century very successfully and provide much better treatment outcomes than your others are struggling against each other to do. And you're going to do it so that the patient benefits and you benefit without having to cut a lot of corners or costs. As Steve Jobs said, you have to start with a patient experience and work back towards the technology. And you do that with partners. You do that with DSD. You use it with a company such as Surf CT that's an integration company. Because we're very good at the dentistry, but we need to have the support of other companies to help us out in areas that we're not as much experts. If you'd like more information, if I can help guide you on this journey on how we're doing these types of things, please feel free to contact me at jheimpdmd@gmail. And I believe that you will find that this experience will not only be rewarding, but it's going to be open many doors for you and many new treatment experiences. So you can go from single tooth dentistry to full arch dentistry and really get away from just treating teeth to start treating the person and having fabulous results along the way, which is the whole goal, ultimately, to having a fabulous smile and feeling good about yourself and having a great life experience. I'd like to thank Dental XP. I'd also like to say please go to the Dental Implant Summit in August. It's an invaluable experience. Also, Digital Smile Design. They do fantastic residencies, the 4-day residencies that Dr. Coachman has in New York, Sao Paulo, and in Spain are unbelievable, because what he's doing is bringing in the top experts in the world on the cutting edge digital workflows, and you're learning what new technologies are coming along. Thank you.